Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Soccer Showdown. Jersey Joe Archino and Michael Holzer, the tag team, doing it again with soccer. We have a tremendous show today. It is a great time to be a fan because if you enjoy the UEFA Champions League, if you enjoy high quality of play, you are in your glory right now, like I know you and I are. But let's start it off with the first match from yesterday, Juventus and Borussia Dortmund. Very good matchup, and I think when we look at Turin, we know how much the Juve faithful always come out. I thought it was what a great atmosphere it was. I always enjoy, because we talked about on the show a little bit last week, the Italian fans, it seems like, aren't coming out as much. I see a lot of empty seats, but in that match yesterday, what a great environment. It really was.
Yeah, I really think so as well, because what I like about the Turin Stadium also is that they don't have a running track around anymore, so that makes a lot of big difference in terms of atmosphere. And the Torino fans always have been like a very fanatic fans, and yeah, it was a very great atmosphere. And if the people would be come to the Serie A games as well as much as to the Champions League games, they would be very good for the Italian soccer.
It really would, and we even go to AS Roma, and even their track they've got the track around there at Stadio Olimpico, which takes away from it. I definitely agree with you, but let's get into the match. Obviously, for a lot of people, it's funny, I was watching this match with my dad, and he said right there, Borussia moves the ball better than half the teams I've watched this year. They're currently in 11th in the Bundesliga, but I think if you watched that match last night, they did not look like a team in 11th in any league. What's been their biggest trouble this year?
This year, Borussia Dortmund had a lot of troubles with injuries. They have a lot of injuries of more important players. For example, Marco Reus was out half of the season, and other very important players were injured, especially in the defense. I feel like they haven't played with their regular starter defense since like a long time, and since like a month ago, they have been playing with the old starting defense, and they have been improving lately in the Bundesliga. They won I think the last 3 games. Yesterday they showed up in a good game. So yeah, Borussia Dortmund is gonna come back, and I don't think they're gonna be like at the end of the season, the Bundesliga at the 11th place. They're gonna go higher and higher, and I'm pretty sure, it's my feeling, that Borussia Dortmund will go to the next round in the Champions League.
Really? So you think they bounce back from this game against Juve?
Yes, especially because they are so good when they play at home with their fans, and
Great
they are
atmosphere.
called the Yellow Wall in Germany,
Yeah.
because the stadium is such a great stadium with crazy fans, and I have a feeling that Borussia Dortmund will go to the next round.
I like that prediction. That's gutsy right there. And we even saw in this match Andre Pirlo come out pretty early on, and we really didn't know how that was going to affect Juve moving forward, but they were able to. But we just look at those, and it was the guys you always expect from Juve. Carlos Tevez making the big plays, Paul Pogba making the big plays. And I think they've had such a firm control over Italian football for so long now, it makes a lot of people kind of wonder, when is their reign kind of going to come to an end? There's been a lot of talks that Paul Pogba is probably going to move away from the club and go to Paris Saint-Germain. There's been a lot of talk about people moving from this club. Andre Pirlo possibly going to the MLS. Are these the guys that are keeping them in firm control of Italian football? When is the reign for Juve going to end?
I don't think this will change in the next 10 years, because I would compare it to Bayern Munich in Germany. Juventus Turin almost had always the best team. I know they were in the second league for like a year or 2 years, but
yeah, when the cheating scandal from
I
a
know,
couple years ago.
But other than that, Juventus is just the most traditional team in Italy, and yeah, these guys you just mentioned are like the key players, and they have been showing up in all important games, and they always play well. So yeah, as long as they show up, I don't think there's any change in Italian soccer.
Very interesting thoughts there. You're going with a Borussia moving on, so defeating Juve will keep that up and monitoring. But now it's time to get to my favorite one, the one that I got to be honest, I stayed off Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anything that could have ruined the result of the match. I wanted to go into this not knowing anything, and it did not disappoint. FC Barcelona winning 2-1 against Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium. And let's be honest, in the Champions League last year, they just demolished City. City could not stay on the same field with them. They really couldn't. But we saw it was a little bit of a different story yesterday. Barcelona definitely controlled every aspect of the first half, and Manchester City made it a little bit interesting in the second. But for a long time in that game, it just seemed like Barcelona's possessions, Manchester City just couldn't get the ball back, did it not?
Yeah, it reminded me of the old Barcelona a little bit, where Barcelona was so strong and so possessive. And yesterday, especially in the first half, they had an incredible game. Like if you see like the passes before the goals, I'm not sure if it was the first or second goal, but
With Suarez?
yeah,
Yeah.
Suarez. I mean, he scored both goals, but they played just amazing soccer, attacking orientated, well in possession with Messi, Suarez, Neymar, and from the midfield. Like it was a joy to watch this game because both teams are attacking orientated. They don't sit back, and I really enjoyed watching these games, and was a highlight for every soccer fan in the world.
I'm with you. It's all what soccer is about. I mean, you have star power all over the field. The one thing I did want to ask you is it was kind of interesting going into this match because we saw Barcelona finally their 11-game winning streak snap. They did lose over the weekend, and Manchester City with a 5-0 rout over Newcastle United. So we kind of looked and we saw the momentum looked like it was going in Manchester City's favor, but no Yaya Toure. Do you think that played a big part of City really struggling to keep possessions on offense?
I mean, Yaya Toure is a very, very good player, and he has a big impact of Manchester City, and he's one of the best players, obviously, of the team. And when you have missing one of the best players in the team, it's always not good, you know. And that's the reason why I think there was a little bit from disadvantage for Man City that he couldn't play. But I'm not sure if it would have infected the result big time. So yeah, but definitely they lost a good player. But a team like Manchester City should be able to catch with another player the level of the team as well.
I agree. I think it definitely had a presence, but they have so much depth on City. And it's interesting because we've really seen City go through a lot of different phases during the season. They've had a lot of stretches where they just have struggled to get a lot of good offensive production. But the one guy who you could rely on everywhere you want to is Sergio Aguero. I don't know if you could even put into words what he's meant to this club in the Champions League this year. I mean, their whole season basically turned around in the Premier League, and their whole kind of stretch in the Champions League turned around because of him against your own Bayern Munich, which I know you're probably still trying to forget. But I mean, the one thing I look at sometimes with Sergio Aguero is, do they kind of rely too much on him sometimes? Do they struggle sometimes to get other guys to have enough production on offense?
Yeah, Sergio Aguero is the best forward in the team. And yeah, maybe they rely sometimes too much on him. But I still think they have other good forwards like Dzeko and a lot of quality also on the bench. But yeah, Sergio Aguero has always been shown up. Just remember the goal for the championship, the England championship. Like,
oh my goodness, yeah.
like he has always been there when they needed him. And yeah, as Sergio Aguero is a very important player for Manchester City.
Now, I kind of wanted to ask you about this because a lot of people ask me a lot, how does the Champions League affect clubs in their own respective leagues? We kind of look at Chelsea and Manchester City. We know they're battling it out for the Premier League title. Obviously, Real Madrid and Barcelona are always. If one of them exits, does it help them a little bit more in their title chase for their leagues because it takes a little bit more pressure off? You only really are focusing on that one goal. Kind of talk about that mentality there.
I still think you can't really say what is from advantage. Like, if you're very good in the league, and you can also be very good in the Champions League. If you're very good in the Champions League, you can also be very bad in the league. For example, Borussia Dortmund is a very good example.
Yes.
They have been playing very good in the Champions League, but they are awful in the Bundesliga. So I just think these are two separate tournaments, two separate leagues, and you doesn't matter how you're doing in this one tournament. You have to see like how you do in the other one.
And that's very interesting because we talked about that last week, how it's amazing how Borussia Dortmund's done terrific in the Champions League, but they struggled so much. They're playing much better now, and it just shows you the difference between the leagues, the quality. An 11th ranked team in the Bundesliga might not be the same thing as in Serie A or the Premier League. Big drop-off there, but it's very interesting, and we're going to keep on moving forward. If you had to pick one club right now in the Champions League who you think has been the most complete team, they've impressed you the most, who would it be?
Oh, it's a difficult question.
It is. There's been a lot of high-quality football.
Before the round 16, I would have said Bayern Munich, but I didn't really like their performance against
in the first match.
Match. But right now, I really have to say Barcelona because this first half really impressed me, and I couldn't put my eyes away from the TV because it was such a good soccer, such impressive style of soccer. So right now I would go with Barcelona.
I'm with you. I just think I mean, you look at the game obviously different than I do because you're such a good player. You've played the game at such a high level. So you appreciate the finer things. What is it about Barca? I mean, when I watch, I think they're the most fun watch in all of world football. Just the way Messi makes passes, the way it seems like every man on the pitch has perfected the game for them. But when you look at them, what's the things that you see that maybe other people don't see that they do so well?
Especially what they do very well is they always press very high, which makes the opponent makes mistakes. Like Manchester City, they couldn't almost like kick the ball away because they pressured them all the time so high. And what a lot of people always say, yeah, they're so good in possession, they're so tactically solid and all these things, but what people don't see is that they defend very well. They defend
Yes.
very well in the other half of the field. In the attacking half, they start already to defend very well, and this is key to success. But Pep Guardiola started this with Barcelona to press the opponent always very high, so they don't find any solutions going forward. And now he's doing that for for Bayern Munich as well.
And like we said last week too, Pep, you can't beat him. I mean, his system, he's shown in Barca, he's shown now at Bayern. It wins with the 8-0 rout this past weekend in the Bundesliga. The last thing I kind of wanted to talk about, though, before we move on to the next game, is just a little bit of Serie A. Right now, the best match of the year, unquestionably in Serie A, was Juve against Roma. I think going into the season, a lot of people really had these two as the dog fight. Roma, though, as of late, has really had a tough stretch. It seems like at this point, all fans could really expect is draw, 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 draw. A lot of people thought when Gervinho came back from the African Cup of Nations, that would help a lot, but he's struggled a little bit with the transition back. Juve and then Roma will play again their second match of the season, their final match so far. They will be playing on Monday. But going into this match, it seemed like that was really the only test Juve's had all year was again that game against Roma. Do you expect Roma to give them a fight this weekend?
Yeah, I expect I expect them to give a fight because Roma and Juventus, there's a big tradition in
Yes.
both teams, and they don't want to lose that game, you know. And so every game in soccer, especially, starts from 0-0, and I think it's gonna be a tough game for Juve to win.
It is at Stadio Olimpico, and we did see at Turin last a couple months ago where it was a struggle. It really was penalty kicks, some controversy. There usually is a lot of controversy whenever Juve comes around. But that was my final question for this segment: is we're a couple years removed from Juventus and the big cheating scandal and things like that. But I kind of wanted to get your perspective on it because in America, we've seen it a lot with pro football, with some other sports, with the New England Patriots, and it bothers a lot of people the cheating scandal. When you kind of look at it as a soccer fan, how do you look at Juve today and how they've kind of bounced back from that cheating scandal?
I think it's tremendous how they bounced back, being faced in the second league, away from all the international reputation, and like in the second league, not playing against Barcelona anymore or Real Madrid or any other team. They were in the second division of Italian soccer.
Yes.
And then they moved up again, and then like 1 or 2 years later they were on top of the league again. I think that's tremendous. And I also respect Buffon, what he did. He went with the team to the second league. He didn't transfer to any other team. He showed love to his club, and like this was a very big influence for Juventus Turin that Gianluca Buffon was still at the team.
Well said. And my final question is, do you think fans are kind of still right to be a little skeptical whenever Juve pulls off things? I mean, we even saw a couple weeks ago, it seems like whenever Juve gets a call or a call doesn't go against someone else's club, they always bring up the old stuff. Are people still allowed to hold on to that kind of that cynicism about Juve?
I think people should stop worrying about this because if I watch Juve, I don't even have it in mind anymore about the cheating scandal. Like they got punished for it, and they got punished bad. and now they bounce back, and I think people should respect that and respect what they did for Italian soccer besides the scandal. And yeah, I think they should give Juve a second chance and forget about the past, because everyone is doing mistakes in life, and they did a big one, but it's all about taking the second chance, and they did.
Absolutely, and they bounced back with a couple Scudettos since that time, so I think a lot of Italians have forgiven them for that. That is going to wrap up this segment, though. When we come back, we'll be talking a lot more with Michael about his career, his outlook on soccer, a little bit more of world football, but we will be back in one moment, so stay with us.